welcome to this short introduction to myself, Sean Cull, and to FoCul. I set FoCul up in 2000, pretty much out of frustration really. I've been an engineer with ICI for about 10 years. I had done all of the usual succession of jobs, from junior plant engineer to machinery specialist through to engineering manager on a top tier coma site. And a constant frustration throughout that really was that I spent far too much time searching for knowledge that we already had and dealing with very cumbersome processes, important processes, but very cumbersome. So things like management of change for process safety. And I began really on an amateur basis to develop software to plug these gaps, and it got to the point where I really wanted to do that in a much more professional way. And that's when I founded FoCul in 2000. And what we do is we provide solutions that help organizations to better manage the knowledge they already have and to collect new knowledge, and also to manage processes so that they can be executed much more efficiently. So the challenges that I faced back in 2000 are very similar to the challenges faced by industry today. So there's reduced resources, so you need to get more people to do more and to contribute more. We have aging plant, so we need to manage the knowledge about that plant and the processes to make sure we can continue to run that plant safely. We have an aging workforce and the danger of losing a lot of the knowledge in the organisation. We have a general shortage of knowledge, and we can't seem to find the knowledge that we already have. We have a skills shortage, and we have a great deal of regulatory compliance that has to be done very well. And in order for us to be profitable and to compete globally, we need to be much smarter about the way in which we do these things. So why is it that FoCul can help? Well, we have a unique skill set and tool set. We're not the normal IT company. We were founded by industry professionals. We've also got some really good IT developers, but we have experience of your issues firsthand. So we've been there as ops managers and engineering managers, and we understand what you're up against, and we also understand what kind of solution works best for you. And we also have developed some software that allows us to deliver these projects very robustly and relatively quickly, and that's called our Mosaic platform. So we also understand how to deliver projects in your environment. Production environments are very difficult, and we understand that projects come some way after safety and after production. And it is very intimidating to try and deliver IT projects into a production environment, but we understand the environment, we understand what we need to do to make it happen well, and we have a really good track record of delivering projects in production environments. And the last point is that we don't just work with chemical companies, we also work with consultancies as well. So we'll show you an example of some work that we did with ABB around their risk-based inspection framework, and how that project managed to save them 30% of every project that they did. So that's over £12 million worth of projects. Our software helped to make a big difference to them as well. So I'm not a big fan of slideware, so let me show you three real examples. So the first will be the ABB risk-based inspection application. Then we're going to look at the FoCul management of change for process safety application, and finally the FoCul Asset Wiki. So this is the ABB risk-based inspection application. You can see this at www.prime-toolkit.com, and this solution is pretty typical of the kind of things that we do really. So what we have here is a dashboard that shows a project. So this is a risk-based inspection project, and we can see straight away that we have vessels and piping here, and we can see the status of the different items that we're studying. Across here we can see documents that need to be actioned by these people. So if I click on Phil here, I can see it has two things. These are the two documents with Phil. I can then click through again, and this takes me to the RBI assessment form for this vessel number 6. And what the ABB consultants do is they sit down with the customer, and they go through and they work through determining the design, the construction, the inspection history, looking at the different deterioration mechanisms. From that come failure scenarios, and those failure scenarios are then plotted on a risk matrix. And then ABB works to determine what is the best inspection scheme that will help to maximise safety and minimise cost for that given asset. So that's for a single item of equipment. If we go back to the equipment list for that project, you can see that the project manager can very quickly get a feel for where the project is in terms of completion. And probably the biggest efficiency saving is that it can then take all of this information and can produce really detailed Word reports and Excel reports that are then given to the customer. Now, all of this is all very exciting, really, from an IT perspective, but really the more interesting part is how this has helped ABB to work much more collaboratively with its customers. So the first thing that's different is that this is on the web. So in the past, the ABB consultant would have been working on a spreadsheet. He would have had a team meeting with the operators and the engineers, and he would have gone through and talked about the history of the piece of equipment, but he would have been busy sort of heads down working on a spreadsheet. Engineers being engineers, his spreadsheet would probably be different from another consultant's spreadsheet, and so there was sort of a lack of consistency between projects, and really it wasn't, I think, that clear to the customer as to what the ABB process was. Now, by having this application, they project it up onto the screen. It's a much more collaborative process. As they go through talking about the item of equipment, there's a lot more prompts there. People are able to correct if there's mistakes or to add additional information. And as well as that, the customer can come and can look at this on the web. So they can either do some pre-work or they can check the work afterwards, and they can also go in and can approve the documents. And so what you end up with is a process that's much more efficient, much more cost effective, but actually is a much improved process because it's much more collaborative, and it's able to really make sure that everybody's knowledge is contributed to the project. So ABB have been using this since 2002, and it's been in a web form since 2012, and they believe that it saves them 30% in terms of time on every RBI project they do, which is 30% of over £12 million worth of projects. So the next example is the FoCul Management of Change for Process Safety application. So it's based on best practices from the IChemE and the American Institute of Chemical Engineers. It was first developed in this web-based form in 2010. And the benefits really are that you get much improved consistency, control, efficiency, with it being an electronic system. But most importantly maybe is that you get better collaboration across the whole team. So we see that the process operators and permit issuers and people like that are able to take part in the whole management of change process. So let me show you the application just briefly. So this is the FoCul Management of Change application. So you can see we have a dashboard at the front which shows us the number of modifications in play over time, and we can see here who the modifications are with. So if I click here for Pauline Process Engineer, I can see that these are the modifications that are waiting for her to actually sign off a stage gate. I can see straight away which ones are temporary ones, which ones are high hazard or medium hazard. And then if I go into one of those modifications, it looks like this. So we have a sort of a basic stage gate as to whether the change should progress from into the process or not. Then we have the risk assessment. So we have some configurable questions around whether a HAZOP is necessary. Then we have the hazard review topics. So here we have a list of topics and we can say which ones are relevant or not relevant, and then for those that are relevant, we then need to put in some words around our consideration of those, and then we look at the records that need to be updated, and for each of those records there will be an action generated, and again we can see if that's a high hazard action. And we can also interlock those actions as well, so that for instance here we can't start construction until the additional hookup drawings have been done. And here we have the classification of the modification, and for me this is one of the most important parts, because this is where you determine whether your modification is high, medium or low risk, and that determination will then affect which people have to sign off on the risk approval processes. The system then goes on to do what we call execution stages, which are construction stages and commissioning stages, and the commissioning stages also have pre-commissioning checklists. So it's quite a comprehensive system. It's also very, very configurable. So for instance, if I go to the configuration section here, I can actually set up the process flow. So here is the process flow for a low risk modification, and you can see that these are the people involved at each of the stage gates, and all of this is configurable for each different site. So this is the last demonstration. It's also I guess the newest product. So this is Asset Wiki v3. It takes a bit of explanation really, and the easiest way to do that is if you think of Wikipedia. So in Wikipedia you have a page for Man United, or you'll have a page for Ineos. Well, if you think about that, but instead you have a page for each of your assets. So for each pump or centrifuge or turbine, you'll have a page, and on that page will be all of the knowledge that you know about that piece of equipment. So it's a consolidated view of information about your assets. It will pull in existing information, so it will pull stuff from your SAP or Maximo CMMS system, or in any other format really. It'll pull in third-party supply reports, so this is in use with BASF, and at BASF we're pulling in things like the Sun Royal Alliance pressure systems inspection reports, and we're also pulling in vibration monitoring reports from AVT. And it can also pull in information from your existing OEE reporting systems, and you can also add information to it. So again, BASF are using it for their risk-based maintenance assessments, for root cause analysis. You could actually do OEE inside of the application if you wanted to, and of course it does action tracking, and it's very good for setting out your information for instance, your ISO 55000 maintenance plans, etc. And it's not only the knowledge management platform, but it's also a workflow platform as well. So you can use it for setting up your workflow processes. So maybe for plant modifications, or for spares reviews, or for trip overrides, or for anything really, any of those kinds of stage gate workflow processes that you'd be very familiar with on your own plants. So the easiest way to explain this better really is just to show it. So let me show you a fictitious example that we have. It's based on the configuration for BASF, but the data in it is fictitious data. So this is us in Asset Wiki now. You can see that I'm filtering to look at the wiki pages on Ammonia 1 and for vessels. And if we go into this B151 preheater, then this is the wiki page for this particular vessel. And this is where all of the knowledge that we have is pulled together to make it easier to find. So we could have our asset management plan, our SOPs could be shown here, engineering documents, OE records, even things like images. So I can come in here and I can look at a general image of the layout of that particular piece of kit. Now, if I go back to the summary tab again, this chart that we have here we call the pulse chart. So this shows how new pieces of information have been added to our knowledge of this piece of equipment over time. So you can see here we have something from our engineering document management system, which is probably a vessel inspection report. We can see here it was involved in part of the OEE stats, so it must have caused some outage. Here we have some work orders, and here we have an RBM. So you can see here that there's an RBM here from January 2015, and there's also one from September 2015. So if I click on this column here, the filter down below filters just to show that RBM record. I can click into that, and this is the RBM record. Now it's a controlled document, and I can see that it's been superseded by the document from September. So I can click here, and I'm now taken to the latest version of this RBM review. This form is fully configurable. and in this case BSF I configured to look at safety and strategy and spares, and there's a section for recommendations, and we can track actions and images, and the outcome of this assessment is that this is an A0 B1. Now if I go to the dedicated RBM menu, I can explain this a little bit better. So with it being an A0 B1 means that it's high risk and high likelihood of causing maintenance issue. So it's up in this top hand corner. And I can actually click through on this chart as well. So if I click through on the A0s, I get to see the other A0s that are in the process as well. Now, in terms of other dashboards, I can look at dashboards by plant. So in this case, I'm looking at the dashboard for ammonia 1. I can look at for ammonia 2 and such like. And I can also look at the dashboards by person. So in this case, I'm looking at the dashboard for Peter Smith. I can see that Peter has a target of doing 5 RCAs per month, and of those RCAs I can see which ones are draft and which ones are under investigation and which ones have actually been completed. And again, I could click on this to take me through to those particular RCAs if I wanted to, and over here I can see the number of RBMs per month that he's done as well. If I go back to looking at it by plant, I get some other options. So here I can look at the future capital spend. So for instance, if I take this column for 2020, so there's a £1.1 million worth of spend in there, and I can click through on that particular chart, and these are the particular spend items that build up that 1.1 million. So I can click through here, and this would be for the nitrogen pressurization device, and this would be maybe to replace the packing at the major overhaul or something similar. And I can also look at historical spend. So again, same idea, I could click through here and this would take me to the SAP information showing where the spend went for that particular month. And there's another type of dashboard called the bad actors. So this is showing me for ammonia 1 for year to date. These are the items where I have spent my money. So you can see here they have the sand filters is the number one thing, and I can also come down and I can also compare different months against each other. So I can compare February against June and do a comparison of those. And I can look at them in terms of spend, and I can also look at them in terms of frequency. So we have menus for RBM, for RCAs. We can configure whatever menus we want to do really. We have this idea of a faceted filter down the left hand side, so we can look at, say for instance, RCAs just on pumps, and that will bring me back a list of those RCAs in the system. So that's a very quick introduction to the Asset Wiki. So again, if you think about it as, it's just like Wikipedia, except you have a page per item, and on that page we're pulling in information from all of the different sources that we can. So there's a SAP or Maximo, and we're also adding information in, such as RBMs and RCAs. It's totally configurable. You can have lots of different pro formas, you can have workflow, so it's a very rich, very flexible system. So in summary, the benefits for Asset Wiki are that you're creating value from your existing knowledge and processes by making those processes more efficient, by making them more inclusive and more consistent. So you get a much wider population of people involved in contributing knowledge to your organization. You're harnessing that knowledge by making it easier to find and to use. You're aggregating data so that you can trend it and put it on dashboards, and you're improving control, consistency, and promoting best practices. So all of this allows you to reduce your costs, enhance your control, and to increase your competitiveness. So just to finish really, our contact details. Would love to hear from you about what you think about our products, how you think that we might be able to make them better, or how we could use them to help customers. That's the link to our website. So have a look there, or better still, give me a call, or you can contact me through LinkedIn, and it would be great to hear from you and to hear about your ideas. Yeah. So thank you very much indeed for your time, and I look forward to speaking to you more.